So Fox News did a report, and here's the beginning of the report.
Back with a Fox News alert, a brand new bombshell in the murder of that guy right there, a DNC staffer. An investigator now says Seth Rich was in contact with WikiLeaks.
So it turns out it's not a bombshell. It wasn't new information, and the guy Wheeler, who's the investigator, has recanted all that shit he said. He said, no, I got that information from a Fox News reporter, and I was just trying to set up the thing. So this guy Wheeler has lost all credibility. So the investigator that was hired by the family, paid by a third party, just so you know. So I'm not discounting that Seth Rich doesn't have something to do with the DNC WikiLeaks. There's a lot of red flags or a lot of questions around this story right now, lots of questions. But that guy, that investigator, Wheeler, he's got no credibility anymore. He's changed the story 3 times in one goddamn day, made me look like a jagoff on one of my videos. So
does he work for Donald Trump? That's like, he could be a Donald Trump communications
so here,
person.
Now here there is something to this story though. I don't want to discount it like, oh, you're crazy if you think there's something more to this story. There probably is something more to this story. So, and why do I say that? Because first of all, there's a WikiLeaks email from John Podesta. John Podesta wrote on February 22nd, 2015, happy to talk to Davids. Call me crazy, but I think if we can survive the next month, it will be possible, maybe even straightforward to get our arms around this once there is an actual campaign. Now, here's the important part. It's in yellow. It says, I am definitely for making an example of a suspected leaker, whether or not we have a real basis for it. So that's weird. That doesn't mean that he had someone murdered, but that's fucked up. Whether or not we have a basis for it, let's make an example of a leaker? Holy shit. This is why I gave Wheeler, the investigator who said he had new information that tied Seth Rich to WikiLeaks. Turned out he didn't have new information that tied him. The reason why I did give that guy some credence was because Julian Assange retweeted that story out. Julian Assange, the head of WikiLeaks, in their entire existence, has never been proven to publish false information, right? He's got a better track record than the New York Times and the Washington Post, that's for sure. So when he retweeted that story, why the hell would he retweet a story? A guy with a perfect fucking record, what does this mean? Here's another thing that Julian Assange did.
Donald Trump has had a disastrous few weeks. If you look at the polls, he needs a miracle. In the American political lexicon, there's such a thing as the October surprise. The stuff that you're sitting on, is an October surprise in there? Do you even know what you're sitting on?
WikiLeaks never sits on material. Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
Because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
Okay, so bam, so that's not nothing. That's the big thing. And what the hell are you supposed to make of that? So that's another reason why I gave that story more attention and I gave that Wheeler some credibility, was because of that. He did everything except say, yes, Seth Rich was our source. He did everything except say that because their policy is not to reveal their source. Why would he bring it up? Why would he say, of course, the whole thing, we all know what his point was there, right? Am I wrong?
It was very clear what his point was. His point was to say, look, because the guy, it started with the guy saying, so would you sit on this? And he was like, we don't want to sit on this because guys get gunned, people get gunned down, sources get gunned down. And this is we protect our sources vehemently. So and what he makes the point of, look at the stakes. So he's being held, basically he's a prisoner. They said this in an interview, he goes, I can't leave the embassy in
the Ecuadorian
embassy. I can't see my children. I can't. It goes. I'm in jail. I'm basically in prison, and they've accused him of rape. They've accused him of
everything.
Of everything. And it's like he is a political prisoner. And so he understands because he is getting it directly. And I think this goes to the bigger issue that we talk a lot about on the show, but the water crisis is part of it. And this is part of it. Americans don't want to believe that we're this subversive, that we're this evil.
Hey, are you sick and tired of corporate Democrats? So are we. So why not become a member of the Young Turks and help us say no to corporate money? If you become a member and help support shows like The Aggressive Progressives who are pissed off at corporate Democrats, go to tytnetwork.com/join. It's only $10 a month. It helps keep us independent and keep bringing you the truth.